Can we get this working? Here we go. Waiting on everything loading. Okay, so I am Carla. I am a baby sleep consultant. So I'm here for the next half hour to answer any of your questions about your baby sleep. So just type them in, fire them away, and I'll try and get through as many as I can. So I'll wait for more people to join, and then we can get started. So if you're having any baby, toddler sleep questions, then just send them through on, type in, and I will answer them for you as best as I can. Okay, Laura, when should you try and put the baby into routine? So, I mean, it's really up to you. You can do it from day one. When I say routine, it should be really kind of just going with the baby's flow at the beginning, but you're kind of wanting to get them into, make sure that they're going down within 45 minutes to an hour right at the beginning, because they're going to be tired. They sleep a lot at the beginning. So just doing that, just by making sure that their wake windows are nice and short at the beginning, that's the sort of routine you can start with. And then from about, every child's slightly different, but from 5 to 6 months, you can start seeing on a sort of more of a scheduled routine if they're quite good nappers and can sleep well. But yeah, from the very beginning, you can start putting them down after 45 minutes to an hour and helping them go to sleep, whether that's in a sling and you go out or whether that's in their sleep space. Just try and make sure that you get into a routine of getting them down before they hit overtiredness. Let me scroll through more. Okay, please help. My 5-month boy seemingly wants a dummy at night for comfort, but will wake 2 to 3 times and will only go back to sleep if I sit and hold his dummy in his mouth for him. He never keeps a dummy in himself, but gets annoyed if I don't hold it for him. Is he just being lazy? Does he even want a dummy? Only has it for sleep anyway. What can I do to settle him in the night? He doesn't like white noise or being fully swaddled. Sleeps and sleep back. Thank you. Okay, so a few things here. Dummies are great if they can put it back in themselves, or if it doesn't cause them to wake up. And if it will cause they could wake up, they are fine with it, that it's not in their mouth. But if it's causing sleep disruption, and he might not have the ability to put it back in himself, it's sometimes better to get rid of it and teach him to settle without it. So you just have to use a settling technique. There's lots out there. Use a technique you're comfortable with. And you say about being fully swaddled, I wouldn't recommend at 5 months them being swaddled. It's not safe, because he's probably rolling, which can be quite dangerous if they are able to roll and they're swaddled. So you want a sleeping bag is perfect. If you don't want to use white noise, absolutely fine. It's a total preference. But yeah, really try and find a settling approach. Lots out there to teach them how to settle on their own. 5 months is a great age to do it. If you need help, just contact me directly and I can tell you how I can help you teach him. Sophie, one of my boys just won't go down at nap time. He fights it. He will sleep if I rock him, but then put him down and he screams any suggestions. He is 5 months. So at 5 months, when you rock and when you put them back down, they are likely to wake. So you really want to get them put down in their naps, in their space that they're going to sleep from the beginning. So you need to make sure those wake times are spot on. So at 5 months, you're looking at around about 2 hours 15. Now, every child is slightly different, so watch for those sleepy cues. So whether they're rubbing their eyes, kind of spaced out, you want to get them before they get grouchy and crying, because then you've kind of missed that sweet spot where they're not overtired and not undertired. Take them upstairs for a wind down, 10-minute wind down beforehand. And that's really key, because if you think about it, if you were downstairs playing, and suddenly you're whisked up, put in your bed, you'd be like, I'm not tired. But you need to have that sort of wind down time. So 10 minutes up in his room, in his nursery, or wherever he sleeps, nice and dark. When he goes for his naps, you want that pitch black when he's sleeping, similar to what it's like at bedtime. And you've got to then use a settling approach you're comfortable with, that you want to use, whether that's in the room or out the room, lots out there, and then just teach him to settle on his own. And once he can put himself to sleep, he's going to nap a lot better. And if you do it roughly the same times every day, then he's going to start expecting sleep. Question from a Facebook fan. I'm wondering if anyone has any advice on getting a baby to nap. My boy is 12 weeks old and sleeps a solid 6 to 8 hours per night. The problem is, this is all the sleep he's getting, as he has now stopped napping. He wakes for his early morning feed between 3 to 5 and doesn't go back to sleep. He is wide awake. He must be shattered. Throughout the day, he then shows all the tired signs, yawning, constantly rubbing eyes, heavy, slowly blinking, glazed over, staring at space loop. Rather than drift off to sleep like he used to, he works himself up until he's hysterical for 15 minutes, 20 minutes, and then dozes for a few minutes before throwing his arms up and waking up really upset and crying. I then settle him, he's back to being wide awake again. This happens 3 or 4 times a day. It sounds as if you're not getting him down at the right time. So you're looking at wake times about 1.5 hours. And also, when you're saying that he's awake for his morning feed at between 3 to 5, let him have his feed, but make sure it's in the dark, not pitch. Obviously, you need a bit of light, but not bright. Don't put all the lights on. Have it dimly lit, and put him back down, because that is still the middle of the night. Anything before 6 a.m. is considered night wakings before that. So 3 to 5 is in the middle of the night. So give him his feed, and then put him back down awake in his cot, and then make sure that he settles, and use a settling approach to get him back down. Now, in the daytime, you need to work to those windows of 1.5 hours. So when he, about 1 hour 20, said take him upstairs for a wind down, and you've got to get him at that point where he's not overtired, because it sounds like he's hysterically crying because he's overtired, and you've just got to keep on working at it. Okay, Abby, I have a nearly 3-week-old who I can tell is overtired and just wants to suckle on my boob. Every time he goes to sleep with me and I put him down in his crib, he unsettles again. We have tried burping, feeding, nappy, and he still won't settle. If it's not anything like reflux or anything like that, make sure then that you're getting him down every 45 minutes. Look at about every 45 minutes, Abby, to know where are you missing that window where he's actually too tired. So have like that calm feed and then put down. Don't worry, 3 weeks old, feeding to sleep, absolutely fine. Don't worry about that. They're still really young. Whether you take them out in the sling or in a pram, it's not a problem at that age. Just try and get them as much sleep as possible. White noise is quite a useful thing to use at that age. But yeah, try and make sure that he's going down every 45 minutes to an hour. Okay, so what's this one? Looking advice on toddler sleep schedules. So we moved house 3 times during lockdown, and this started the late bedtime at about 10 p.m. She was about 14 months when we moved out of our home and used to sleep 8 till 8 when I was still co-sleeping breastfeeding most of the night. I had to wean her due to being pregnant, and since being weaned and in her own bed, she takes up to 2 hours to fall asleep and using the potty a million times. She's fully potty trained in a day and reading 1,000 books and singing 1,000,000 lullabies. Not only this is only me that can't get her to sleep. She can, what she say? She wakes up 3 to 4 times just for a cuddle in the blanket to be put cozy again. She also only naps in her pram and a walk, and sometimes naps for an hour, sometimes 10 minutes, but definitely needs a nap, as otherwise it's really cranky and she doesn't get up at 8 every day and doesn't fall asleep until 11 some nights. Basically what I'm doing wrong I mean, basically, what am I doing wrong? I'm exhausted and only have 8 weeks until the baby's due. She's 20 months now. Right. So 20 months, they still are very likely to need a nap. I'd say going to no naps is roughly at 2.5 to 3 years old on average. So definitely give her a middle of the day nap. So roughly about 12:30, you want to give her a lunchtime nap. Now you need to get her used to settling herself. So I'd say because she was used to co-sleeping and she's quite attached, that way I would use something where you're in the room and you settle her from and gradually move out the room. So that's what I would do. It's called a gradual retreat approach, and you've got to just stick at it for a couple of weeks until she's comfortable sleeping on her own. That will stop the middle of the night wakings because she'll just put herself back to sleep. And in terms of bedtime, you want to aim for about 7:30 bedtime. When it's too late, you're going to have extra wake ups in the night. She's going to struggle to fall asleep, and you're just going to be in a cycle of overtiredness. So 12:30 nap at lunchtime, that could be maybe 2 hours long, it might be an hour and a half, and then a bedtime of about 7:30 in bed asleep. So that hopefully helps with in terms of what you should do, especially it's a scheduling thing and also a settling, how to get her to settle herself. So Sophie, my toddler who is 2.5 won't go to bed in his own room again, and he keeps saying ghosts. So you want to address the situation. So talk to him about what are you seeing, talk about ghosts and address it and reassure him that there's nothing to be scared of. And then if it's a case of that you could start by being in the room, reassuring him, and then slowly just moving out. Now another approach, which is really nice approach just to get him used to being in his own space, but then being reassured that you're there, is something called the kissing game. So he goes to bed and you say, if you stay in bed, mummy will come back and give you a kiss. And you start with a minute and you go back in, and then you just start getting longer and longer periods that you're out the room, and give him praise when you go back and give him the kiss that he stayed in bed. If he gets out of bed, you silently return him, you don't give him the kiss, and then you just get longer and longer intervals that you stay out the room, and eventually he'll just fall asleep himself. But address the ghost. What is it that you're scared of? What are you seeing? Just don't you want to actually address what's going on. Is there something that's scaring him? And just give lots of reassurance that there's nothing to be scared of. Okay, my 16-month-old won't fall asleep in his cot. I have to feed him to sleep still, and that's not always successful anymore. And he will sometimes stay awake until 11 p.m. and then just fall asleep on the floor. And then I can carry him up to his cot. He still wakes at least twice a night, has to be fed back to sleep. So if the feeding to sleep isn't working for you anymore, you have to find an approach to teach, is it a girl? Him, and teach him to go to sleep himself. So that doesn't always mean just cry it out. There's so many different approaches. You find an approach that you're comfortable with. If you want me to help you, get in touch and we can talk about how I can help you and support you through it. But you need to use something that you're comfortable with, that will suit him, and teach him to fall asleep by himself. And that can be something really gradual, and you want him to be falling asleep. The 11 o'clock bedtime is probably going to be causing those night wakings as well. So aim for a 7:30 bed as well. So it's all about teaching him to fall asleep and be comfortable falling asleep on his own using a settling approach. Okay, Caroline, my boy who's 4 now has woken through the night since about 2. Once asleep, he will come to me several times and want me to go back to bed with him. It's as if he knows if I leave. So I'd need to know, what is it that when you actually leave the room, does he fall asleep himself and he's fine and it's just the night wake-ups? Or is he just not happy even going to bed himself? If it's a case of that he doesn't stay in his bed, then you could use something like, so whether it's like a reward system, so a reward chart, because it's all, once they're older, it's more behavioral. So whether you can incentivize with like a reward chart and a grow clock, so he has got to stay in bed until the sun comes up and the clock, and then he gets a reward, and really get him engaged in the actual creation of the reward chart, and follow it through. So if he doesn't stay in bed, he doesn't get the reward in the morning. But if he does, then make sure you do reward him, give him lots of praise and incentivize. Ultimately, you've got to incentivize. So my 8-month-old keeps waking up at 5:30 or 6 a.m. when she goes to bed at 6 p.m. from nursery. What can I do about this? I can't stretch bedtime further. She's tired from nursery, but 5:30 a.m. wake up brings her sleep at nursery, as she's awake from 5:30 till 10 a.m. She then refuses bottles at nursery because she's very tired, overtired, and then doesn't really nap in the afternoon. It's just a nightmare for us. It's only on nursery days, 2 days a week, but it's making her very moody the days after. Please help her. Sleep always been brilliant apart from this. So at 8 months, I need to know more about her schedule. What are you working to in terms of wake times? So you're aiming more for around 3 hours should be her wake times, on 2 naps a day. And then how much sleep is she getting in the day as well? Because it sounds like, does she just get 1 nap at nursery? Because you want her still to have 2, because if you bring her down to 1, she will be overtired. But at 8 months, your maximum day sleep should be around 3 hours. And if you're finding that actually that's too much sleep, so maybe she just needs 2 hours 45, so bring it down. Then, and make sure that she's on a set schedule as well, so don't start moving her times. That's what I'd suggest. I need to know more details of what her day looks like in order to tell you what's going on. So if you want to get in touch after, I'm happy to help you if you need it. Charlotte, my nearly 2-year-old won't put herself to sleep. I have to sit in the room, and it's taking her anything from half an hour to an hour to sleep. How can I get her to put herself to sleep? So when you put her down, you need to start gradually getting further and further out the room. You can't stay in the same spot. You need to start getting her used to having some distance. So slowly move away towards the door, so that once you're by the door, it's like she doesn't even really need you anymore. So it's something you need to do gradually to get her used to it. You've got to persist. And then once you're out the door, that's it. That's you out the door, and then just go in and reassure once you're out the door. My son is 19 months old, and he's been refusing to go to sleep in his cot or by himself for a few weeks now. He's always previously been really good at it, but he seems to have developed some separation anxiety at bedtime. So one of us has to sit next to his cot for an hour until he eventually goes to sleep. Any advice on how to help him settle more quickly? So I'd need to know more about what his day is looking like. But separation anxiety, it's really common at that age, and it's something that you just have to go through, and they do come out the other end, as long as you don't get into introducing extra support to get him to sleep. So it sounds like you are doing the right thing. Sit next to him, give him the reassurance, but let him fall asleep himself, and then slowly just gradually get further and further out the room, so he just gets used to going to sleep himself. So if you look up gradual retreat, that's what you're basically wanting to do. So my daughter's 2.5 and she won't go to sleep at night. We've tried everything. She will scream and cry and just mess around. I've tried staying with her till she finally drops, but that just makes it worse. She doesn't wind down. Any help would be great. Is she still having a nap or not? And also, what are you doing when you is what's going on before bedtime? And also also see that she's not having too much sugar before bedtime, things like that, and a really good wind down before bed. And rewards as well. Do a sort of reward chart and incentivize her to go to bed. And I'd want to know, is she having too much? If she's still having a nap in the day, is she having too much sleep? Or if she's not having a nap, is she overtired? Is her bedtime too late? All these things can affect how well she goes down. Okay, Claire, how much awake time should a 16-week-old have between naps? So it's roughly, you're looking at about 1 hour 45, it depends on the child, 1 hour 45 to 2 hours. I mean, some will have really short wake windows of an hour and a half, but you're looking on average about 1 hour 45 to 2 hours max. 2 hours max is like the longest, I'd say. But just it's a combination of awake time and watching their sleep cues as well. So next one. My 10-month-old keeps waking about 2:30 a.m. He gets in our bed and will go back to sleep in mine or my husband's arm, but I really struggle to co-sleep. I keep waking, panicking, wondering where he is. He does fidget a lot, so that also wakes us a lot. He will only go to sleep in our arms. Car plan, please, can you help? So Gemma, you need to go from, for all sleeps, you need to try and teach him to settle himself in his own cot. And it's really hard at 2:30 o'clock in the morning. It's the middle of the night, you just want your sleep, but you need to, when you put him down in his own cot, that's where he stays for the night. You need to pick a self-settling technique that you're comfortable with using, and then follow that through. Just make sure his day is right. So you're looking for wake times about 3.5 to 4 hours in the day across 2 naps, with maximum day sleep of about 2.5 hours. And that's how your day should kind of look. And when he wakes in the night, follow through with that settling approach that you're using at bedtime, and also use it for naps as well. Okay, Stephanie, what does her day, you've said we also have a bedtime routine of dinner, wind down, bath, massage, and then bed, but she screams and screams, she stays awake all night. Is she having a nap in the day, or is she not having a nap in the day? Because if she's having a nap in the day, is she ready to drop it? She's not tired enough? Or equally, is she overtired because she's not used to not having sleep in the day, and so that you might need to bring her bedtime earlier? Hi, my son is 15 weeks old. During night sleep, he moves his pad frequently and bangs his head. Do you mean his head? He bangs his head and his legs. Is he just moving in his sleep? I mean, they do move around a lot. And when you say that he's banging his head in the cot, some kids actually just bang to settle themselves. They will hit their heads gently on the side of the cot. I'd need to know more of what's going on. It's not dangerous, it's just not nice for you to watch, but if that's the way they're going to sleep, I'd need to know more detail on what your specific. I'd would want to know exactly what's going on before I give any advice on that. My 9-month-old has quite a good bedtime routine until it actually comes to bedtime. She'll have a bath and then some quiet time downstairs about 7 p.m. with a bottle and falls asleep being held. She normally goes to sleep quite quickly, so I put her down in the cot and she will stay asleep for about 3 hours, and then she's up and down until early morning hours. I've made the mistake of putting her into my bed where she'll fall back asleep. I'm worried we've created a bad habit. How do we break this? So simply because she's falling asleep on the bottle, she expects that when she wakes. So it's all about teaching her to fall asleep without the use of the bottle. So move that bottle feed to earlier in the bedtime routine, and then get her in her cot and settle her, whether that's from the side of the cot or you choose to be out the room, that's totally up to you, whatever technique you want to use. And then stay consistent doing that through the night as well. That if you stick to doing that, that you will find that she will start sleeping longer stretches than 3 hours, and it's just persistence. In terms of her schedule, you're looking about 2 naps, about 3 to 3.5 hour wake time, And then in terms of day sleep, you want to aim for about 3 hours as well in a day, maximum. Okay, Laura, with a newborn, how long should a newborn typically sleep for in between the 45 to 60-minute awake time? Also, when should this awake time get extended, i.e. at what age? Okay, so it will every month just naturally get longer and longer, that wake time. It will change. Some days you'll get an hour's sleep, some days you'll get 20 minutes sleep, some days you'll get half an hour sleep. Their sleep's not they're not going to consolidate their naps until much later, like by about 4 or 5 months. So some will be 6 months, but you will see them naturally lengthen. So by 2 months, you might see that it'll be about 1 hour 15 max wake time, and you'll just see them naturally lengthen. But it is really short at the beginning, and at the beginning you want to aim for about 4+ naps and about 5 to 6 hours sleep in the day. You don't want to have too much sleep in the day, because if you have too much sleep in the day, you're not going to then have, they'll be maxed out in the 24-hour periods, then they're going to be up in the night. But still, 5 to 6 hours in the day is what you roughly should be aiming for in the first month. Hey, Lucy, my 3-year-old can't do a full night in her own bed. She wakes up about 3 and will only sleep with us. As I've just said with others, the 2.5-year-old, incentivize, use a grow clock, like one of those clocks. You don't have to use a grow clock, but that sort of concept. Where explain to her that she's got to stay in bed until the sun comes up, and if she does that, then you'll give her a reward, and that can be put onto a reward chart as well. And use the two together, so that she really has an incentive. But use something, you get a reward that she actually is going to be excited and interested in, and so it's not something that she's not bothered about and she'd rather just come in and sleep with you. So get her something that she really wants to stay in bed for, and that will just become, then she'll just get used to doing that. Okay, so Alex, my son is almost 4 but still doesn't sleep consistently through the night. He has a good bedtime routine, in bed by 7:30, asleep by 8 at the latest. He goes to sleep well but doesn't stay asleep all night. When he wakes, he then doesn't want to go back to his own bed. He has the grow clock but ignores this. Okay, so it's a case of, there's not many things you can do. It's a case of, if he does come out of his bed, you're going to have to just silently return, even by engaging in conversation in terms of saying, oh, stay in your bed, or literally say nothing. That's still attention. So you silently return him back to his bed. So it's really not that interesting to do, and you just keep doing. You're going to have to keep on doing that until he does stay in his own bed. Okay, she doesn't nap during the day. I cut it then, and we normally. Oh, hold on, I've lost what you've written. Wind down and bath, and she goes to bed between 6:45 7. So it's 7 o'clock. It's quite early. Try pushing bedtime a little bit later, to about 7:30, just a little bit later, to see if it's that she's. It depends when you didn't cut the nap, but if you cut it a while ago, push that bedtime a little, because she might now be used to that. So make it a little bit later, her bedtime of about 7:30. And if you need to do something where you stay with her until she goes to bed and then gradually move out, but you just can't give in, because she'll then just stay up to 11 o'clock every night. So be consistent in how you respond as well. My daughter is 11 months old and she's totally on my breastfeed. She doesn't eat any proper meals and she drinks breastfeeding whole night and refuses to sleep on her bed. So I would really work on, when you're saying that she doesn't eat any proper meals, I'd work on making sure that she's starting to eat meals more. So I'd really focus on that, and then try to disassociate the feeding and sleep. So give her her last feed of the day out of her bed, and work on self-settling, using a settling approach that you're wanting to use. And in terms of her schedule, you're looking at about 4 to 5 hours wake time with about 2.5 hours day sleep maximum across 2 naps. But the thing is, you need to get her eating better and starting to eat better, so that she's not using the feeds through the night to fill up. So, but definitely choose a settling approach that you're wanting to use and commit to it for a couple of weeks. And you could do something really nice and gradual so that it's something you're comfortable with. Okay, so she's cut about 2-3 weeks ago, Stephanie. So if you cut naps 2-3 weeks ago, you might need to make bed even earlier. She might be really struggling. So aim for about 6 p.m. Try an earlier bedtime, because when you get rid of that nap, it's really hard for them to go. They're used to having some sleep in the day. Now you've completely cut that out. They've got to go all day, like nearly 12 hours. So get her down earlier, because that is probably her just so overtired. She's struggling to get to bed. So aim for a 6 p.m. bed for a while, and then you can just gradually move it later. I think that is everything. There's lots of good questions there. I hope it was helpful, guys. And that is it for today. Right, well, lovely speaking to you all. And I will see you. I'll be back on here, not next week because I'll do the Instagram live. I'll be doing Facebook the following week. Oh, Stephanie, I've just read your thing there. The day she's at nursery, she doesn't nap there either. When we get in the car, she's flat out asleep. Don't let her fall asleep in the car. That is a dangerous time to fall asleep in the car. So that shows how tired she is, which means that try and keep her up until 6 o'clock. Right, I'm going to have to go. And come back on not the next week, but the following week, and I'll answer more of your questions. Thanks.